Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Joy Dunk Club, brought to you by Asian CineVision, as always. And the applause sound effect. There it is! Finally, it works. Thank you. No, really. Oh, you're too kind. Seriously, we have to start the show, but that's very kind of you. I'm Terry Park, your host and creator, and this is episode 10. We have made it to 10 episodes. This is amazing. Despite all the protests on the streets to shut down the Joy Dunk Club, we have decided to go on and persevere. Why? Because we want to continue to bring you great analysis, excellent analysis of Jeremy Lin, and awesome guests, which is what we have today. Julia, Rhee, and Jenny Tan of Retrofit Republic will be joining us later in the broadcast to talk about Jeremy Lin as a fashion icon, a fashion model. Is he a fashion model? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about general trends in fashion, specifically Asian American fashion. We'll look at some NBA players who are noted for their quirky fashion sense. So this show is all about style. It's all about Steez. So let's get right to it. First off, joining us, as always, from Boston is sports tweeter Greg Kim. Greg, how's it going?
How are you liking Boston so far?
Greg, you're not supposed to disclose my location. It's a secret.
My
Greg
bad.
is lying. I am not in Boston. I'm somewhere else but Boston. No, it's okay. It's fine that people know I'm in Boston. Yes, I'm in Boston for reasons I cannot list. It sounds sketchy, secretive, but it's fine. So yes, Greg and I are finally in the same city. We might actually meet in person, Greg, and then I will high-five you. And I will see that you are actually, what are you, 6'5", 6'7"?
I'm 6 foot. That's it.
6 foot. To me, you're basically 6'5". You'll see that I'm Muggsy Bogue size. Anyway, joining us from from DC is the co-founder of Hard Hat Lunch Pail, Joyce Yin. Joyce, welcome back.
Way to be shady, Terry.
What do you mean?
Oh, for reasons I cannot disclose, I'm going to tell you why I'm in Boston.
I can't, be listed. I'm just in Boston, enjoying the sights. It's a beautiful, weather, March weather.
Shady.
In one of my favorite cities. No, actually, it's not.
No,
it's
not. It's got racist fans, remember?
Yes, and we'll talk about that. That's the question I wanted to bring up is which city has the most racist fans? So if you have an idea of who you think has the most racist fans, you could tweet that to the hashtag JoyDunkClub or submit your comments on our YouTube page at Asian CineVision. I think Utah has the most racist fans, and being from Utah, I would know, but who knows? Maybe there are other cities that I've missed. And last but not least, joining us, he's been gone. He has been on hiatus, on sabbatical for a few weeks, but we're glad to have Hsieh. Ren, co-founder of the APA-centric podcast, Dat Winning. Ren, or as we like to call him, the Beard, is back. Ren, I have a special sound effect just for you. Yes, and that's something else we can talk about is this thing that Jeremy likes to do. I saw an article that said that's one of the top 3 pre-game warm-up exercises. Is it crossing the line? We'll see. All right, and then in about 10-15 minutes we'll bring in Jenny and Julia. But first, let's talk about Jeremy Lin. So the Rockets just played the Jazz, my racist Jazz, and they lost 193. The Jazz tried to come back, but they're so awful that it didn't even matter because they were down big time. Jeremy Lin finished with 24 points out of 9 of 13 shooting, 1 for 1 on threes, 5 out of 6 free throws, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers in 30 minutes of play. He's been tearing it up in the last five games against the Warriors. He dropped 21 points. Against the Timberwolves, he had 24 points and 8 assists. He's been averaging close to 17 points a game. I was flying, so I couldn't catch the game. Did anybody catch tonight's game against the Jazz? No? No? Okay, that's cool. Has anyone watched any of his games in the past 4 games? Greg?
Yes, sorry, my mic was off. I watched the game.
Oh, okay, cool. So, what did you see tonight? What did you think of his performance?
I mean, he played quite well. Very efficient game. None of the Jazz guards can stay with him. So it's interesting to see, him play well in this situation. I mean, the whole team played well. In the beginning, Jazz couldn't stop the Rockets, but they let him come back. But they still held them all.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've been watching the past 5 or 6 games, but do you see why he's been playing better recently? It's just a matter of him settling in with James Harden, just getting more shot attempts. What is it?
I think it's because you're nearing 70 games in the season, and if you're not playing better now, then you shouldn't be playing. So I mean, they're all getting better as a unit. They sort of sacrificed some of the present chemistry they had to get Thomas Robinson and to free up some cap space for next season. So they've been dealing with that. And actually, as a team, they haven't been playing that well recently. They're still fighting to get a spot in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean they're all still fighting and they're still out there playing.
Yeah. Joyce, I don't know if you've caught any of Jeremy's past few games. Have you? By any chance? Oh, you look ashamed, Joyce.
No, I can't take you seriously.
Why? Is there something on my face?
There's something.
There's something on my.
You got a little something on your face. So just,
I see it. I'll just replace it.
Oh no.
Is that
fabulous.
better?
It's fabulous.
You
do
like
what you
green. You gotta do what you gotta do. Exactly. I'm in Boston, so yeah, I'm wearing Celtics green. So I don't know if you've watched any of his past few games, but have you?
No, I mean I've really more just been keeping up with Jeremy's performance and just seeing how they've been doing. But the Rockets have been really inconsistent lately.
I know you're a cat person, so.
No, I'm not a cat person.
Where's your what? What happened? You had a cat.
It's not mine. It's my roommate's cat. Anyway.
Oh.
I am a dog person. I'm just gonna put that out there. All right. Yeah. Right. No. So it's interesting. I was reading this piece on Red 94 about the Rockets like being super inconsistent and just being very volatile.
Potato.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
And it's actually a really interesting piece because they go through these periods of streakiness, but it's a combination of different things, right? Like they shoot threes, they shoot a lot of free throws, but they also have a lot of issues with let me see. What is it? Come back to me.
You've been doing your homework, Joyce. You've been reading some.
I've been trying because I can't. I always miss their games.
Okay.
But it's just a really interesting piece about how up and down the Rockets' whole really season has been and the way that they play because they shoot a lot of threes because they have a tendency to draw fouls and their defense really is terrible. All kind of combines in this inconsistency.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think something else that sort of emerged in the media over the past week or so, and Ren, feel free to correct me or add to this. I think it was the Phoenix game, the second Phoenix game. They had 2 games in a row against the Suns, and the Rockets were kind of getting down early, but apparently, according to reports, Jeremy sort of pulled the team together in the huddle and was just like, this is enough, enough is enough, and we gotta get together. And I think even James Harden sort of referred to him as our leader. I think that's what the reports were starting to say this week. So it's kind of interesting to see him sort of taking on that role.
Yeah. Go ahead, Red.
No, I agree. As a point guard, he's got to play that role, and that doesn't always have to be the best player on the team. Somebody's got to do it, and Jeremy's in the position to do it. I'm glad he's doing it.
I mean, do you think James said that because he really meant it? That he really does think that Jeremy is the undisputed leader, mostly because of his position, or
I think such a strange question to ask, you know, because that assumes a kind of you know, placating the audience of Jeremy Lin or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna take it at face value. If he said that, then he said it and he meant it. You know, we kind of just have to go with that. I think it's like, you know, as Asian Americans, I guess we kind of have times inferiority factor a lot being in this country, you know, and I think that lies in the way we think about Jeremy Lin's relationship to his team and his teammates a lot. Because to even question what James Harden said, I don't even question that, but I see what you're saying, you know, and I do understand that people do question that. It's like, is he being serious and whatever, or is he just patronizing him? And that's like, you know, if he is or he isn't, he said it, and we should take that at face value, you know. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't think he was being patronizing in calling Jeremy the leader. I'm just wondering, you know, why did he say it at that moment? You know, as Greg mentioned, there was the game where Jeremy pulled all the players together. Was that the moment in which Jeremy gained the more trust from his players? Or has Jeremy proven his leadership by his on-court play?
I mean, I think, you know, for Harden to say something like that goes into a lot of, yes, he has, you know, he's begun to prove that, you know, and it may take a while because, you know, Lin has to overcome those same sort of like stereotypical roles that you know, that he has to play and whatnot, and he's getting over that too. So if he can be a leader on this team, I mean, that's tremendous. And I don't think Harden would say anything like that unless that he really started to see that and that Lin was really starting to take a hold of that.
Yeah, Joyce, what do you think about what Ren just mentioned a little bit back about what this means for? I mean, we can guess about James Harden's intentions. We don't know why exactly he said it, but what does this mean to have an Asian American player be seen as a leader of his basketball team?
I mean, I think I'm not gonna lie, like, I think when Harden said it, there was a part of me that actually did question, like, do you actually mean it? But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter, right? The fact is that James said it, and he said it out loud, right? And I think for Harden, right, who is pretty much, I mean, he's a star, right? For someone like that to say that about Jeremy is almost like validating in a way, right? And so I think in that case, it almost builds Lin's case that he is a leader, and I think for a lot of younger fans, it's kind of like, hey, you look at Jeremy, like, he, even like by other players, they think that he's a leader. Like, I could someday be like that. I could be like other NBA players could think that I'm the shit too, right? And I'm the leader of this team. Like, I could be like that. I don't know. So we'll see, but it's hopeful.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't think this is the first time that someone like James Harden or someone of his caliber has named someone else on their team the so-called leader. I mean, Tony Parker is pretty much the leader now of the Spurs, right? Tim Duncan, he's older. He's passed on the torch to Parker. Parker is now the center of the offense for the Spurs. So, I mean, you know, a lot of it maybe has to do with being the point guard, right, which is the quarterback of the team. And so that lends more credibility to the claim that someone like Jeremy could be the leader. And on that note of being a leader, I think that's a good segue to bring in Julia and Jenny, because not only are they leaders of in the Bay Area among Asian Americans, among Asian American fashion trendsetters, but they themselves spotlight other Asian American leaders with their lookbooks, and they just came out with the new lookbook. But first of all, I want to formally introduce Jenny and Julia. So Jenny Tan and Julia Rhee of Retrofit Republic, which is a vintage styling clothing firm. They also do weddings. They, as I said, have come out with some lookbooks that have spotlighted various community leaders. Jenny and Julia, welcome to the Joydon Club. Uh-oh.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there's some lag with your video, but the audio sounds pretty good. So, yeah, thank you. I've been looking forward to this show for a while, not just because we're good friends, but because I've been wanting to talk about fashion in relation to Jeremy Lin. So as a lot of our audience members know, Jeremy Lin was on the cover of GQ, I believe, in November of 2012, last year. And, you know, ever since then, we've seen some photos of Jeremy wearing some nice suits. And we're going to show some of those photos today. But first of all, Julie and Jenny, just to get a sense of the kind of work that you do, can you tell us about, maybe a little bit more about Retrofit Republic and how it started?
The short answer is that it started with a yard sale, and we kind of, I think in some ways we can call ourselves the accidental entrepreneur, because we're coming from community organizing backgrounds, and so it was the short stories that, you know, Jenny and I, we were really amazing friends, good friends, and we decided to get a place in San Francisco, moved in to this really cozy spot. I think that's what a lot of people who live in urban cities call it when you don't have a lot of space. And we had we just realized that we had a lot of stuff that we didn't need. So we wound up having a yard sale one Labor Day weekend 3 years ago, almost 3-4 years ago. And from there, you know, we posted signs around the neighborhood, and folks that came through really seemed to respond to our unwanted clothing, of all things. It became very, very apparent that people were really enthusiastic, and they wanted to join email lists and ask if we're going to do a monthly event, a weekly event, if they can sign up for a listserv. So it really just kind of sparked the idea to think a little bit more broadly in terms of what we could do in the world. And yeah, I mean, after that, it was just thinking through what that would look like if we were actually really intentional about what we sold, and how do you create a business that really reflected your social justice values. So fast forward to the present, and we're still doing it.
Yeah. So basically, Retrofit Republic is a fusion or hybrid of our passion for sustainability, social justice, and fashion. You know, one of our main premises is to show people that fashion can be very sustainable, which is why we specialize in vintage. So we're also a vintage retailer here in the city. So we sell merchandise as well as style individuals, tastemakers, elected officials, students, our friends, you know, community organizers. We do it all.
Yes.
And we also do event design as well.
Right, and I feel like I'm an example of someone who has benefited greatly from your fashion advice. And just to give folks a sense of the kinds of radical transformations that can happen.
Let you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, I have a before and after photo that I want to show off. So this is how I used to dress back in the, I know, Joyce, I know, painful. Again, I grew up in Utah, so there aren't a lot of options. It's either Patagonia or North Face, and it's all fleece. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I dressed, that green, rocking the green fleece jacket. I had that for like 8-10 years. I did not want to give that up. The jeans.
The Pacific Northwest, Harry.
Say what, Julia? Oh, I think we have a little bit of a bad connection. We're just seeing the photos now. So I wanted to show that photo.
Oh, we're just seeing the photos right now. Sorry, the computer is a little bit laggy.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Picture.
And then I wanted to show a photo from when we did a photo shoot. Where is it? Oh, I think it's right here. So that is from.
Whoa!
Look at that.
Look at you.
Before and after, and that is all due to Retrofit Republic, to Jenny and Julia. And I'm holding a book about bacon. That in itself indicates.
Look so fancy, Terry Park.
Oh, you fancy. Oh, you fancy. And it's all because of you. It's all because of you. So I just want to have folks get a sense of the kinds of transformations that can happen because of Julie and Jenny and the clothes.
Well, you know, you're an easy foundation to work with.
Well, that's a good segue to talk about Jeremy. So I think we posted a link of Jeremy's GQ cover, and just in case, I have that cover. So, well, first of all, you both watched the Linsanity documentary last weekend. It was the opening night film for CanFest. And, I mean, you know, being a small business owner, having a struggle to get your name out there, what were some of the ways in which you identified with Jeremy's story?
Good question.
I think his tenacity, his persistence. I'll be honest, I did not know too much about Jeremy Lin prior to the documentary.
Not me, I knew
okay.
everything. I knew everything.
Julie is a dedicated fan.
What stood out
I
to
knew
me
it.
was his perseverance, his tenacity.
Absolutely, all the way, way back since 6 days ago. Ever since 6 days ago, I've been a ride or die Jeremy Lin.
We both have.
Absolutely.
We're all about him now. We're
Absolutely.
like, that's our boy. And you know, for us being small business owners, it does take a lot of tenacity. You do have to really hold on to faith that at the end of the day, whether it's a trying time, because it's not always easy, that at the end of the day, we know as long as we're passionate and we hold on to our values, that we can get through this. And it's definitely has. There are moments where, again, it hasn't been easy, and then we'll look at each other like, are we really doing this? And then, you know, when we are able to assemble a team like we did for the latest lookbook, and then to see the end result, it just shows, like, you know, we're onto something. We're doing something that is making a difference in the community, that people are taking notice of, and that is validating for us. And it's really nice to have, you know, that sort of validation. And I feel like Jeremy Lin is finally having that validation in his life, the validation that, yes, he can play. Like, it's obvious he can play. But unfortunately, due to a lot of circumstances, such as race, I believe, was a detriment for him in the NBA that didn't allow him to have those opportunities that he should have had right after high school. You know, why was it that he was demoted to D class 3 times? You know, why was it that nobody wanted to pick him up or give him a full scholarship at the schools? And a lot of it, I think, has to do with his race, and he doesn't fit that stereotype of what an NBA player looks like.
Right. Jenny, it sounds like you have been doing your homework. Damn.
You know,
were
the
watching
documentary was eye-opening for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing
Yeah,
that I
no,
would
definitely.
add that,
Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
I just really quickly, I think one thing that I would add is that I really appreciated when there's a segment in the documentary where he's giving kind of like a talk to these young people who are in his basketball camp, and he was just talking about how in his own life he really aims to really transform his struggles into opportunities. And I think that was like the best way to kind of capture whatever comes up, whether it's in the small business or in our personal lives, is that constant orientation towards, you know, just pushing through and believing that everything happens for a good reason, and if you prepare for the right opportunity, that, you know, the universe will conspire to make things happen for you.
Not a ton of magazines focused on men's fashion, right? So within that small pool, GQ is probably like the most prominent, right? It's kind of like the go-to source for men's style. And then the fact that Jeremy is like front and center on the cover, styled very well, right? It's like, I think it's a big deal, right? It's just, I don't know, it's just showing like, hey, Asian Americans can be fashionable too, hey.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't know if any other Asian American has appeared on the front cover of GQ. He might be the first one. Ren, what about you? What was your reaction when you saw the cover and the photo shoot?
I mean, I thought it was cool. I mean, but Asian Americans are generally pretty fashionable, as far as I know. So that's
You're a
not
perfect
no surprise
example
to
of
me.
that. Look at you.
Yeah, no, I've been rocking this beard for a good hour now. So you know, it comes hand in hand. But no, you know, you gotta, you know, they usually have athletes when they have athletes on. It's like Tom Brady. It's like, you know,
Right.
elite level athletes. For Jeremy Lin to come on is great, and I think it's great, and I think he is actually the first Asian American male on GQ. But at the same time, they're selling magazines. They know he's got a group of people who are going to buy the magazine. Same with the Sports Illustrated issues. I mean, that's kind of just a fact, the nature of the business. You know, they're selling issues.
Well, let me follow that up with you by asking you: do you think they had Jeremy Lin on the cover to appeal to an Asian American demographic?
Can we chime in for a quick sec?
Yeah, sure. Jump in, Julia. Yeah. It's like you're across the world.
You know, I think
like
what's so significant about Jeremy Lin being on the cover is that it's also. Oh, is it? Is there still a delay? I mean, one of the things that I think is significant is that GQ has been heralded not only as kind of like a style Bible for men, but it's also has been like a representation of a type of masculinity, right? So when we're talking about Jeremy Lin as a cover model, right? I think it not only sends a message that Asian American men, not only is it going against the narrative that Asian American men are effeminate or a lot of the stereotypes that you've seen historically been built up, but that, you know, that he's also been kind of positioned as a style icon, which has been really interesting. And, you know, a couple years back, I mean, the organization, shout out to NASCON, aka Joyce Yin, you know, years ago, back in college, I mean, like probably in 2006, 2005, 2006, there was this huge controversy that broke up around Details magazine, and they had a monthly series that was called for this article, it was called Gay or Asian, and they had a model of an Asian American male figure, and then they had these little kind of arrows with little shadow boxes that kind of said, oh, you know, like Asian men. It was basically saying like like it was impossible to differentiate whether Asian men were gay or not because they dressed so quote unquote effeminate. And they would use terminology like, you know, you really have to look for their sashimi smooth chest, and you know, that there was an emphasis on Louis Vuitton bags, and you know, Details magazine is owned by Condé Nast. You know, it's like that mega publisher that also has Vogue and GQ in the mix. So, you know, the fact that we forwarded it's been about 6 years, and to see Jeremy Lin not portrayed as an outsider, but as again as a cover model, I think is a reflection that he's done his part in breaking down some barriers.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you brought up the Details magazine feature on Gay or Asian. I forgot about that. That happened a few years ago, but it's such a departure from. Whoa, what is going? You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Someone's trying to get in the show.
Okay, I guess Jeremy Lin is trying to get into the show. Yeah, there was such a drastic difference between representations of Asian American masculinity in that feature in Details and Jeremy Lin on the cover of GQ. And I'm glad that Ren brought up Tom Brady, because I mean, Tom Brady is a perfect example of what one would think of in terms of embodying a certain kind of heralded masculinity, and then Jeremy Lin steps into the same space that someone like Tom Brady occupied. So that's a photo of him at a game. I guess he was injured or not playing. So, yeah, Julie and Jenny, give us your expert fashion advice. What is working or not working with what Jeremy's wearing in that photo.
Well, I mean, first of all, is the photo supposed to be blurry? Maybe it's our connection, but
I think it might be.
it's hard to really see or discern the details of his outfit. A lot of it looks pigmented. But from what I saw, I think he looks amazing. It looks like what he's wearing is a suit that fits very well. It looks like he has some round glasses, which is very popular right now. Round glasses, round sunglasses, shades. That's very in style. I could see he has a pocket square, which we're big fans of. And I don't see the image anymore, but just overall, looking at it briefly, I personally really like what I saw.
I would have to second that. Yeah, it seems like Jeremy. I mean, what again in terms of Terry? I think you, the three of us, had a conversation in terms of what types of apparel or what types of silhouettes are flattering for folks like Jeremy, and Jeremy has a very, very kind of ideal, not ideal, maybe ideal is not the right word, but he has a very specific kind of body type and height, and so the fact that what we recommend for all our clients is that when you have something that is really closely tailored to your body, and whether you do that with a tailor or whether you kind of use one of our very budget-friendly styling tips, the better the overall effect is going to be. And so, again, in the image that we're seeing right now, I think that's showing up on the screen, all of his suits are really well tailored to his body. So for menswear, when you want to look for in suiting, is that you want to make sure that it fits through the shoulders, that it has the right darting in the back, so it kind of cinches, it comes in towards the waist. Want to pay attention to sleeve length, also the kind of the sheen finish, right? So whether it's a daytime suit or more of a special occasion evening suit, you really want to pay attention to that. But for the most part, it seems like whoever is styling Mr. Lin, it might be himself, I think that they're doing a pretty good job.
If you had the chance to style Jeremy Lin along the lines of a Retrofit Republic look, what would you do? What would you add to his wardrobe, to his look?
We would definitely add more color.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're big fans of color. For clients, we always tell folks if there is one avenue to be a bit more adventurous and daring is with color, and it's one of the easiest ways to elevate your wardrobe, existing wardrobe. A lot of folks like blacks and neutral colors, which is wonderful, but that also provides the best opportunity to add color to your outfit, and color connotes confidence, and we love that. So when we see somebody walking down the street in color, we stop, do a double take, and immediately I know this person is confident. This is a person that I probably want to talk to, or probably want to know. Yeah, so the photos that I have seen of Jeremy, I've noticed it tends to be more in the darker tones, and not as much color.
Yeah. I think one thing that I really appreciate about the Linsanity documentary that just came out was also you got like a really kind of intimate portrait of Jeremy Lin's personality, and from the way that he comes across on the screen, he's an incredibly warm, really approachable, down-to-earth kind of guy. So the more that, one thing that I would love to do if Jeremy Lin was our silent client, hint, hint, was just
call us
anytime, would be to figure out more style strategies to really incorporate his personality, and his more, one of the great scenes in the documentary was when he had kind of talked about his attachment towards a childhood blanket, and it was like a Disney blanket. It was just so endearing, and he's someone who seems like he has a great sense of humor. So there are ways in which you can still look the part of looking professional and having a very chic look, but still kind of let your personality shine through in, again, like a pattern you know, pocket square, or you know, a really bright contrast suit lining. You know, there's you know, inventive socks. You know, there's so many different ways that we can really push the creative boundaries.
Well, I'm glad you brought up showing a sense of humor, a lighter side. I think, Joyce, you posted this on the Joy Dunk Club page. It's a series of photos that Jeremy recently posted on his own Facebook, and I'm going to put it up now. Is this what you're looking for? I know it's a little bit hard to see.
Can you describe the images, guys?
Oh, you can't see it. He's posing in 4 different ways, wearing the same Houston Rockets scarf. I don't know if you saw it before. Well, hey, what are the?
Oh, on the Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, well, what did you think of these photos? Is this more of the kind of personality you want to see out of Jeremy? I mean, obviously he's just doing this for fun, right? He's not serious about this. Actually, well, what did Joyce, you're the one who posted this on Facebook. What did you think when you saw this?
I mean, I actually really liked it a lot. I think that's the thing. Like, the thing about Jeremy is, like, not that he's boring, but he's kind of boring, and it's not a bad thing. It's just like, I want him to show more sides of himself, like this, right, where he's just being really ridiculous. Or when he posted that status update about, like, when I got that text tonight, I realized I lost $2,000. That could have been 2,000 cheeseburgers. That could have been 2,000 like Jack in the Boxes. I was just like, that's ridiculous, but that's amazing. Like, do more of that. Like,
Right.
Be ridiculous, right? Like, just show more of yourself. Which I know is hard because we scrutinize, and you know, but it's just fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing that the very fact that he is so scrutinized.
I see it, but it's blurry. Is he trying to pose like he's doing karate?
Yeah.
Is that what he's trying to convey?
Yeah, probably.
Does that make you? What do you think about that? Is that a little uncomfortable?
Oh, okay. I mean, my only critique about that is that it fits into the stereotype of Asian people. We all know karate.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about before.
Wait, I thought we all did know karate.
Well, I mean, I know you do, Ren. What kind of karate do you know?
I just know what I was born with. I was born with the natural inclination to do martial arts.
You know what I say to that, Ren?
What's that?
Excuse me, I know Taekwondo. Different. I hold a yellow belt. Excuse me.
Oh,
that's what I'm talking about right there. All Asians know martial arts. I thought that was
a product
I thought we knew that.
3 very intense weeks of once a week Taekwondo training. Okay.
Good. I'm glad. I'm about that. I'm about that.
I tried to do the gong noise, but it wouldn't go through.
That's a shame. It's too late now. You can't do it now.
Missed your moment. Missed it.
The moment passed. But I wanted to go back to something that I think Jenny was saying about the need for more color in Jeremy's wardrobe. So I looked at a few NBA players who are known for their fashion sense, and one who is identified with showing a lot of color, and I want to get everyone's opinion. Russell Westbrook, who's a point guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and his photo right there. Now, is that the kind of color you're talking about, Jenny and Julia? Well, I want to get other people's reactions. Greg, what do you think of Russell's wardrobe choices?
I mean, Russell. It's kind of like Craig Sager. Russell's kind of like the Craig Sager of NBA players now. I think it's always like. Ren knows what I'm talking about. You know, he'll show up with glasses that have, you know, they're just frames, they're no glasses. He'll show up with these like ridiculous outfits. Yeah, I think wasn't it Russell Westbrook who one time like showed up in this like pure like shiny silver thing?
Yes.
Or whatever.
I wouldn't put it past him.
He's also the one who wears those interesting Jordans this year, the ones that are like completely zip up, but you
so ugly.
Yeah. So I mean. I don't know.
God.
I guess Russell's like a trailblazer in that sense, but would I wear that stuff? No. But I mean, if he enjoys it, good for him, right? I mean, colorful clothes are like Russell's thing, the same way like backpacks are KD's thing in my mind.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Julie and Jenny, can you see the photo that we're showing right now?
Yeah. Well,
What do you think of his socks?
We love
Love
it.
it.
We personally love his outfit. We love that he's so bold, that he's mixing different colors. You know, and color can be overwhelming for a lot of people if you're not used to wearing color. But the fact that he shows that he's unapologetic about his style.
Absolutely.
And that's what style is about, is unapologetically wearing what you wear with no apologies, with absolute confidence. And I feel like looking at him,
I mean,
he can care less what we're saying about his outfit, because he was like, you know what,
in that sense, he's the perfect encapsulation.
I personally am a big fan of
Westbrook. I'm sorry, there's a little lag, but that's the perfect encapsulation
like
of Russell Westbrook. Okay, it's just gonna keep going. Sorry, he's because he's
like, you can
he's
tell
unapologetic about anything.
style.
All right, Ren.
Well, and so he conveys
Wait,
it very well through
sorry.
his play.
Let's hear from Ren. Ren, you're trying to get something across. We want you do it.
Yeah. No, sorry. Based on what you're saying, it's a perfect encapsulation of Russell Westbrook, because he's a completely unapologetic, human being. That is him. He's just going to be himself, and that's it. And it's always been what his life is about.
Let Westbrook be Westbrook.
Yeah, exactly. Westbrook be Westbrook.
Yeah, and that's exactly what style is about.
Yeah.
Because anybody can wear the same article of clothing, but as you see different individuals wear that same piece of clothing, everyone wears it differently.
Absolutely.
And I think for him, he definitely goes with what he feels most comfortable in. And it's bold. I love that.
Yeah.
It's bold.
Yeah, and I think Gregory, is it Greg or Gregory?
Either one, Greg.
Greg. I mean, I think it is true. Not everyone can pull this off, right? It takes a certain a certain kind of personality and someone who has kind of continuously pushed their boundaries in terms of what they put on their bodies. But from where I'm sitting, I feel like this really kind of works on him, and sounds like it is a reflection of his personality as well. So I would say slam dunk for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think like what Greg was saying before, Russell, because of the way he plays, it's very brash and fast. It's interesting that his fashion sense reflects that, and very much is in contrast to Kevin Durant, who I'm showing right now. So what do you think about, what do you all think about this look? Joyce, does this match Kevin Durant's personality more?
I don't know. I mean, I think what I like about Kevin Durant is that not that he's low-key, but, like, his style is somewhat low-key, but he always manages to have, like, an interesting piece. Like, when at the All-Star weekend, I think at one of the, I don't remember what it was, but he was wearing this, like, all black, but then the sweater that he was wearing was, like, bejeweled. Like, it was fascinating. And then he had his usual, like, horn-rimmed glasses. But everything else was black, right? It's just like he has one piece that just really sticks out, which, I mean, I guess maybe you could say about Kevin Durant, his shooting or his shooting stroke or something. But I actually wanted to tie that into what I think is a really interesting phenomenon of, like, this emergence of, like, the black nerd, right? Or nerd fashion within, like, black athletes. And that, like, kind of almost, it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because you have these athletes, these like strong, muscular men dressing like these boys that they might have used to make fun of, right? And it's just an interesting kind of like expanding notions of what it means to be quote unquote black and like how to dress, I think, and like especially when you're going from the Allen Iverson era, right, where you had the baggy jeans, baggy clothes, chains, and then going into this like very fitted clothing, very stylish, very trendy, and you're almost kind of like dismantling David Stern's kind of black stereotyping, right, where he instituted the dress code and all that. I don't know. It's very like fascinating kind of contradiction.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm really glad you brought that up because I found a photo of LeBron, who may, or maybe not LeBron, but Jay-Z kind of bridged the sort of, or helped introduce the nerd look into basketball culture. And so here we have a photo of LeBron and Jay-Z, who are good friends. And I mean, they're not really showing the nerd look in that photo. But I mean, do you all remember, Jay-Z doing the nerd look and sitting courtside? And I feel like that started to spread to other NBA players.
I just wanted to chime in. I think it's interesting that you brought up the nerd trend. So there's a great documentary called Brooklyn Boheme, and it was produced and directed by Nelson George, who's a famous black critic, historian, author, director, producer. And what I loved about the film was it basically highlights the period of the black nerd movement that happened in the 80s, in particular in Brooklyn, Fort Greene area. So, like, definitely I feel like there's waves of different fashion, right? Like, there's waves where, you can be definitely nerdy one day and the next day, more baggy. But I feel like not a lot of folks are aware that there was, before these NBA players, there was this quote-unquote black nerd phenomenon that was happening. And what's the famous director? Spike Lee was considered one of them. And
right.
On the covers of Time back in the 80s, these quote-unquote black nerds are being featured and highlighted. So I don't think, I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel like fashion comes and goes, and this existed before now. So it's not like these players are, setting the precedent. There was a precedent before them.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't think we would go into this fascinating historical exploration of the black nerd. One last NBA player that I wanted to show off, very much a departure of the black nerd, but he was definitely known for his fashion in the 90s. Dennis Rodman, who we talked about last week, but we didn't talk about his fashion choices. I mean, what do you all think? Ren, I don't know if you are a Dennis Rodman fan, but and now.
Sorry, you dropped out for a second.
Oh, just what do you think of Rodman's fashion choices? Do we see?
I
you
see
kind
a
of cut out, but I think I know what you're talking
aesthetic
about.
that's happening. And I feel like Rodman has always had that bohemian chic look, even when he was playing with the Chicago Bulls. And I feel like this is very Rodman. The Rodman that I knew, I used to watch a lot of basketball when I was younger. Grew up with four brothers. One of my brothers, actually, he is a diehard Chicago Bulls fan. And so I remember him back in the day with Pippen and Jordan. I like his bold choice of scarves. I don't think a lot of quote-unquote hyper-masculine professional athletes would probably rock a pink scarf in this way. But what I really appreciate about Rodman, even before when he was playing professional basketball, that he defined, or he broke the boundaries of what was hyper-masculine in pro athletes. I remember when he wore the wedding dress, I loved it. I personally was a fan of it because it's about time that these gender norms are being broken, especially by these individuals who are considered quote-unquote role models. A lot of people look up to these individuals. So I love that he debunked the idea of, you have to be hyper-masculine to be a professional athlete.
Right.
And I feel like, it doesn't seem like much has changed in terms of him displaying himself in that way.
Right.
I think with Dennis Rodman, he's a gifted basketball player. I don't think his foreign policy knowledge is not so strong, in my opinion, considering that he told the North Korean president how he really wanted to meet Hsieh of Gangnam Style, of South Korean fame. His fashion, though, I mean, I definitely have to second Jenny. I think he has definitely done. I mean, he's definitely made a lot of waves in breaking the gender binary. I think he really pushed a lot of envelopes when it came to exploring how sexuality and gender and race really translated in a game that has historically been raised as one of the pinnacles of masculinity, of men behavior, aggression. And so in this outfit, I don't love it at all. But he does get points for. I mean, he is certainly someone who really is one of a kind. I mean, and I think that his style, his fashion is really reflective of his personality. It's attention seeking, it's attention grabbing.
Right.
He's someone that you cannot ignore.
For
and
sure.
And in some ways he's really successful at turning heads.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Ren, you were saying something before. What was your opinion about Dennis Rodman? His fashion choices?
Oh, no, I don't have any real opinion.
Okay, Joyce. I know you're a Bulls fan. Were you a fan of Dennis Rodman's fashion in the 90s?
I mean, I don't know if I had necessarily an opinion either way. I think to what Jenny and Julia were saying, though, it did make me question, like, gender presentation and gender norms, right? So I saw this, what I was told was a man wearing a dress. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was possible, quote unquote, right? I didn't know you could do that. And so it actually did make me question kind of like the status quo in that way. And I respect Rodman. Like, I mean, in terms of his personal other choices, don't, whatever. But, like, I respect the man for just kind of doing whatever the fuck he wants and saying, fuck your ideas of gender identity and gender presentation. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, whether you like it or not, especially in the hyper-masculine world of sports, right? So I respect that.
Greg, can you see yourself ever wearing a scarf like that?
You kidding me?
Come on, Greg. It'd be awesome.
So if you had to choose among the 3 players that we showed, or 4, including Jeremy, who would you follow in terms of their fashion sense? Jeremy Lin, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, the more understated look, or Dennis Rodman's outlandish choices?
Probably Katie. I'm not that excited.
Do you rock a small backpack too?
I kind of want to get his backpack. It's kind of nice.
God.
What's so nice about it?
I mean, it's just like, it fits your basketball sneakers, there's enough space for a ball. I mean, it's a nice basketball backpack,
Does he sell that back? Like, is there a line of KD basketball?
Yeah, Nike sells them. It's like the KD, like, elite something Nike basketball backpack.
Oh my god, of course.
I don't know.
Nice.
I mean, I'm pretty much a whore for Nike basketball items, so whatever they have goes.
You're not a fan of Li Ning, the company that Ren rocks?
Nah,
Ren, you want to talk briefly about Li Ning's entry into the world of sports apparel? Like, what are they doing differently than Nike and other companies?
Nothing.
It's just the same as all those other companies?
It's the same shit.
Really? There's nothing distinctive about Li Ning?
No. I mean, it's from China, but they're trying to do use the same model, basically. It's the same stuff. I'm actually a big Nike fan. Nike is on the forefront of anything having to do with sneaker fashion, anything having to do with basketball fashion, as far as, like, sporting gear goes. Nobody beats Nike in that regard. They're trying to compete. Li Ning's U.S. Brand has hired all American designers, and they're really pulling out all the stops. I mean, they're really trying to do it. And their new sneakers, their new line of D-Ways, they look good. They look great. They take a lot of cues from the old Jordan retros. So they're trying to do something. They're trying to do something, but it's really just sort of a copycat of Nike right now.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how Li Ning's look changes, if it ever does, in the future. or if it just ends up copying Nike and Adidas. But so we got to wrap up the show. Some people have to go. I just want to thank all of our guests, especially Jenny Tun and Julia Rhee of Retrofit Republic. I'm sorry we couldn't show the lookbook, but if folks are interested, go to retrofitrepublic.com. Their new lookbook, which looks at tastemakers of the Bay Area, is available. And Greg Kim, thanks again for being on the show. Joyce Sin at Hard Hat Lunch Pail, and Hsieh, check out his API-centered sports podcast, Dat Winning. And we'll be back next week. I don't have the schedule. I don't know who's up next week, but it'll be another great show. So we'll see you next week, and so long.
Bye. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for being on the show.